has nothing to do with any escape from a character or a problem with a character or any of that. Now, there will be people who will write things in the papers who will say, this poor man is trapped behind, ha, 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 quote, pointy ears, end quote. You know, it has nothing to do with what's going to happen here tomorrow night in this lovely theater, in this lovely city with this wonderful audience that's going to come and have a great time tomorrow night, and I hope you're one of them. Will you be there? Okay. Now, what else would you like to know?
Why did you pick Vincent?
Well, it came to me in a play called Van Gogh. Somebody sent me a play called Van Gogh about 3 years ago. It was a very moving piece of material, very exciting, theatrically, dramatically. And I started to do some research and discovered that that most of us know very little about Vincent, just like most press know very little about me. You say, oh, he's the guy with the pointy ears, right? The audience is way ahead of this. In the case of Vincent, there's an interesting similarity. Most people know that he cut off his ear, and they assume he was crazy, and he painted with bright colors. That's about all most people are aware of, except for those who remember seeing Lustful Life, the movie with Kirk Douglas about 20 years ago. But there's a whole other story to be told here. And this particular play brought that to my attention. I started to research it, and I've spent the last 3 years doing that. And we have put together, as a result of using that play as a base, we have put together an extraordinary multimedia show, which is a celebration of not only Vincent but his brother Theo, the two brothers who gave us the fantastic beauty that we have in our world today in terms of not only Vincent's works, but the effect that his work had on so many other artists and the effect that it's had on artists even today. So there was such a great story to be told and such beautiful works to be shown that I couldn't resist it. If I never act again, it'll be okay, having done this.
How difficult is it to put on a one-man show?
Very difficult, very difficult. Very few people could do it.
If you discover one night you don't have it, or
No, not with this material. No. It is extremely taxing, but at the same time, extremely rewarding. This particular production, I haven't discussed this with other actors who've done it, like Hal Holbrook, Jimmy Whitmore, people like that. I have not discussed their one-man shows with them. But in my case, I have found that I have never worked harder and never had more fun at the same time. I come off extremely tired physically, but on a high emotionally. It's the kind of tiredness that you have when you really feel you have had a great time doing something and you've been so involved in it, you've poured out all your energy, but you feel great having finished, you see. I did 2 of these yesterday, and I miss doing it this afternoon. Miss it. Last week at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, we played 2 shows on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, and only 1 on Friday night. And Friday afternoon, I was restless.
Plays like this. Do you find, though, that everybody still remembers you as Spock the minute
No,
that you do?
no, not at all. I've had an awful lot of public exposure since 1968, which was when we finished making Star Trek. 1969 and 70, I spent 2 years in Mission Impossible. And I found that by the time I came out of Mission Impossible, people knew who Leonard Nimoy was. There was a period of time when I first started doing Spock, of course, when they didn't know me, they only knew the character. They saw the character every week on the air, and they didn't know who I was. It took a little while to develop a balance between the two of us, but I have no problem with that now. I am sick and tired of being confronted with a problem that the press has that I don't have. I got to be very frank with you. I'm here because I'm doing a production that people here will enjoy seeing. I'm not here because I have a problem, you see. And it's really boring to be constantly trying to catch the press up with the public. It's really boring. If we can talk about the positive side of why I'm here, I would love to do that, okay? Because I'm really looking forward to having a good time here.
Monarch is different. You're much more emotional than he is.
Yes, I'm a human being. I'm a human being. And if you were constantly being confronted with something that happened to you 10, 12, 14 years ago by one group of people, while everybody else is saying, let's talk about today, you would understand the difference. It's very difficult, very difficult. It's trying. And I find myself working constantly at being patient because of it. And constantly having to remind myself that you and I are in a business where we relate to and use each other. The question is, will you use me properly and will you be fair with me? You see, I would love to be fair with you and tell you everything you want to know, but not if you put me in a defensive position. You see, the first thing you do is you put me in a defensive position and say, how does it feel to be trapped? Now, if I refuse to discuss that, you see, well, that's essentially what the aspect is. You come with a predisposed idea. Oh, this is the man that's trapped in that role. Let's ask him how it feels, you see. Now, if I refuse to discuss it with you, tomorrow's paper will read, he refuses to discuss the fact that he's trapped in this role. You understand what I mean? So I don't want to refuse to discuss it with you, but at the same time, I'm trying to help you to understand what the difference is between your preconception and the reality. I don't have any problem with it. There will be people who come here tomorrow night who have never seen me on stage before. Never. It will take them 2 or 3 minutes to get past the difference between the way they have seen me in the past and the way they will see me tomorrow night. Most of them have seen me in other things by now, either another television show or a movie or in a photograph someplace or something. So they don't have to go all the way from the Spock picture of me to the way I look now. It's not that much of a stretch. It will take them 2 or 3 minutes. By the time that 2 or 3 minutes has passed, we will begin an experience together that will send them out of this theater glowing tomorrow night at about 10 o'clock. I guarantee it. And if I'm wrong, you come and tell me so, okay?
Could we ask you a question about the movie?
Yeah.
Because that's fairly current. I understand.
The movie is not fairly current. The movie is coming out next December, and I'm playing Vincent in this city tomorrow night. Do you understand my point? Okay.
I understand the
It's
character.
very difficult.
The character finally dies off.
What?
I say I understand that the character finally dies
You're
off.
wrong. You're wrong. There's
Not
no
right.
such thing as a character dying off. You're totally out of touch with what's happening. Really. Now, let's talk about reality. If you want to know something about the movie, I'll tell you. But I don't know where you're getting your information. It's outrageous.
That was the rumor that you didn't
Well, where did you hear the rumor?
know where rumors come from.
Are you a professional press person?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you represent? I don't know who you're with.
KCRG.
Okay. You are in a position to call Paramount Studios, make a $2 or $3 phone call and say, we've heard Spock is killed off. They'll tell you the truth. Why should you depend on a rumor? That's exactly what I'm talking about. I will be helpful to you, and I'll tell you everything about the Star Trek movie that anybody in the press today knows. But if you start with rumors, then we're off the track. There's no such thing happening. Spock is not killed off. Quite the contrary. Spock is very much alive at the end of the picture. You're rolling on all this, I hope.
Of course.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. What happens in the movie is that Spock cuts his ear off. No, it's the truth. Are you rolling? Keep going. Spock cuts his ear off because he identifies with Vincent. No, it's true. It's true. He runs across some Van Gogh art, identifies with Vincent, and cuts off his ear.
Is there any connection between the fact that you're now playing someone closely related to somebody who has cut off his ear and the fact that
This is unbearable. Let's start again. I'm not here to talk about Spock or Star Trek, and if you're kidding, I'll laugh. But are you really asking me seriously if I took the role of this play?
certainly not. I was just
It's outrageous. Outrageous. People come into the 20th century, for God's sake. It's outrageous.
What do you see as the future of Leonard Nimoy and other types of activities? Because
Hold it just a minute. But let's be fair. This stuff cannot, stop the camera. This stuff cannot be used on television. Cannot be. Okay? I consider this a witch hunt, and it cannot be used on television. Okay? I have to have that film.
Not film.
What is it, tape?
It's tape.
Okay, I'll buy it from you. Take it out of the camera, and let's start again and do a proper job here, otherwise let's forget it.
Now, if you want, I can rewind it. After
No, I want the tape.
After that tape, I won't be able to shoot an interview.
If you want to rewind and back up, I trust you. But I tell you, we have a serious problem if this foolishness gets on the air, okay?
Okay.
Now, let's be professionals. I'm a professional, and I expect you to be. Okay, I'm really serious. And if that's the approach you want to take, then I'm sorry you wasted your time. We're here at the Paramount Theater to talk about Vincent. If you want to connect that to Star Trek in some way, I understand that. But I don't want to do a whole session defending myself about my career. Okay?
How did you start into acting? Why?
Okay, I was 8 years old in Boston, living near a community theater, which was about 3 blocks away from my home. It was an interesting place that had basketball teams and science classes and that kind of thing, and they also had a lovely little theater. Walking down the hallway one day, a lady said to me, "Walk into that room and sing a song for some people in there." And I walked in and they said, "Can you sing?" And I thought, "I don't know how to sing. What do you want me to sing?" And I sang something, and I said, "You are now Hansel," in a production of Hansel and Gretel. And that's how the whole thing started.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at high school in Boston, and then my first dramatic training came at Boston College. I was given a scholarship. I was 18 years old for about 2 months in a summer program that they had there. Left Boston College after that was finished and went to the Pasadena Playhouse in California. Moved away from home when I was 18 to study acting.
What got you involved with Vincent? Was it,
I mentioned that. I think we already discussed that. I did a play called, I was sent a play called Van Gogh.
Would you rather do movies, television, or stage?
I'm only interested in the material. It doesn't matter to me what the medium is. If it's an interesting piece of material that's challenging, says something, gives me a chance to express a character, that someone would offer me an interesting role in a project that I wanted to do, and they said, for example, this is going to be a play, we're going to do this as a play, that's fine. If they changed their minds and said, we'll do it as a film instead, or the other way, I would probably still do it depending on whether or not it would work in that medium, if I felt the medium would not injure the possibilities of the success of the piece. But essentially, what I look for is material, not a medium to work in. There are certain benefits in both and certain drawbacks in both. I think they kind of counterbalance each other. In the theater, there's the immediacy and the contact with the audience, which I love. I have a great time with audiences. In motion pictures, you can be much more subtle, obviously, and you have all the benefits of the medium working for you, the techniques of the medium, the mechanics of the medium working for you. You can do things on film that you cannot do on a stage, but you don't have the audience. You don't have the immediacy, the immediate relationship with the audience that you do on film.
Have you ever done any radio drama?
I did when I was about 14 or 15 years old in Boston, not professional. I started out to be a radio announcer. My first inclination was that I would do kind of disc jockey work in radio. Didn't quite work out that way.